There we go. All right. So, again, welcome to our Guatemala Sunday forum, in which can y'all see me if I'm sitting down? I don't want Grace to feel awkward by herself sitting down over here. But we are glad that you are here as we Guatemala trip that we have. So as you may or may not know, our Luther League from our 6th grade to 12th grade, we have a 3-year cycle for our summer trips. And so one of those years we go to Germany to connect with our brothers and sisters at St. Thomas in Leipzig for a week of exploration of their Lutheran identity and their Lutheran faith. Then one year we have the ELCA Youth Gathering where thousands upon thousands of youth, young adults, and adults descend on a city for a week of faith formation. And so that was 2 years ago over in New Orleans. And then that's this summer coming up in 2027. And then we finally, on our third rotation, we have described as a mission trip. And so sometimes this looks like we go locally in the United States and serve for a week. Sometimes it's going to outside the country to serve on that in that context. And so this summer we served at Hope Academy in Guatemala for a week, accompanying the young people and the teachers that teach those young people. And so online, you can see some of our participants are in college right now, so they have to wake up from their college routine to join you online today. And so we give thanks to them that are joining with us. We have Johnny. Well, Johnny's not in college. He's one of the sponsors. And then we have Martina, and then we have Hannah Longoria, and Elliot, and Elena, and Peter, and Grace. And then those that also attended were Nathaniel Allen, and Kayla Hensley, and looking at my list, and Emily Weinstead. So today is all about just talking about our trip, you asking us questions and what our experience was in Guatemala, and it's a dialogue. So if you just sit there without any questions, it's going to be super awkward. You're going to hear me talk a lot, which is super awkward, and that's okay. But we're here to talk. We're here to explore. We're here to hear where your faith was challenged. So for those that are in person, you kind of have our outline of what we did. We arrived. How late did we arrive on that Saturday? Yeah, it was late. So we arrived in Guatemala on Saturday, June 14th. Our flight was early in the afternoon. We loaded up on a bus. We had dinner, and then we basically were shown to our hotel that night of. And then the next day, we got to explore the church that is there in Antigua, and then we also got to really see Hope Academy, which we've been talking about in this congregation for 2 years, and we got to actually see the students and the teachers that we got to actually be amongst them in the presence of them. And we did some projects such as bringing some Texas culture to Guatemala. So our group actually, with the thanks of Peter Bryant, made 6 sets. I apologize, 6 sets of cornhole for their students to actually play cornhole during their help them learn English. They helped teach English in the school setting. And then Emily worked on a video that is for the organization to help share their story. And so we did that for about 3 days. And then we also visited our friends over at Chickadee, which we had a presentation about how coffee is made. We did a trial. I think some of us had a lot of coffee, including myself, which was fun. We learned all of the process of how we do that, and then the process of there in Chickabee, they have the only female, it's not a brew, it's a roaster. It was a roaster. And so that was fun to hear their story. Then the next day we went to Hogar Miguel Orphanage, and there we helped paint their new facility for their social worker. And so these are the students that are, and these are children that the government that they're orphans, and they come here and with the government in Guatemala, and we were there to help paint their new child care facility. And then we also got to see their new facility, which is kind of like their adult education, talking about repairing motorcycles, sewing, and giving hope to people that do not have the possibility on their own. So we got to really explore that. And then our last day, which was our free day, in which some of us walked around Antigua and explored the culture there. A lot of us did a volcano hike. Your deacon thought he was going to hike, but after 20 minutes, I got on a horse because it was a lot.
We were hiking up, and there was this lady like following you up the mountain, like a horse just waiting for him to get off.
Yep. Up and puffing, and so she knew I was easy money and easy game. And then the most shocking thing for a lot of them is that we left at 3 a.m. for a 6 a.m. flight returning home from Antigua to Houston. And so I think a lot of them may have stayed up that night just talking and reflecting. Others probably went probably. I know I went to bed early, the young adults. All the kids stayed up. Okay. Yeah. Because you were the carrying the adult presents with them. Oh, no.
They all came back and they would hung out in one of their rooms or went to the neighbors with like hanging out.
Is that true? I'm looking at you young people. Hannah's smiling, so that's a yes.
And wants to watch you doing these.
There you go. So, before I begin asking the question, and then we'll invite each of our participants to answer, what questions might you have before we begin? What are those things? So yeah, so on your table and on your chairs, I'm sorry online people, I don't have a digital bracelet to give you, but those are gifts that we've gotten from Guatemala that a lot of the people in Antigua, that's their livelihood of making these bracelets. So we brought those back from Guatemala to give to you to, first of all, remind you that, you know, sometimes in the United States, we forget where things come from. And so simple things like a beaded necklace and coffee comes from places that we don't anticipate. And so when we participate, when we purchase these things, we use these things. In Guatemala, we remember the stories of the people and how they happened. So yes, those are for y'all to enjoy, to remember your brothers and sisters in Guatemala. And for those online, I'll be sure to mail you those wherever that you are in your college care package. So great question. What other questions might you have? Yes?
What wonderful foods did you have to eat?
All right. What wonderful food?
We had a lot of really, really good food. We actually has a lot more variety of food than you would, well, at least than I was expecting, because it has a big, like, immigrant community from, like, they had, like, ramen shops. They had big, like, had a lot, it's like actually had, like, a shockingly good barbecue place. Okay, have a lot tomorrow. So I was like, why good? Yeah, they actually have some pretty good brisket. I was really surprised. Like, and we also had some really good, like, more like traditional Guatemalan food. They do. It's hard to describe. It's kind of hard to describe. It's definitely it's like a cousin to Mexican. It's not the same thing, but it's definitely, you can see the similarity. They like no flour tortillas, only corn tortillas for the most part. Like a lot of, I had some really good, like, kind of soup sort of thing. That was delicious. But I couldn't tell you how to make it, I'm sorry. But we had some great food there. Fried bananas. I didn't have that. But I do think they do have that.
Let's give some other people online an opportunity. What was your favorite food in Guatemala? Hannah, thank you for raising your hand.
My favorite, hands down. Can y'all hear me okay, first of all? Everyone can hear me? Okay. I loved the pepion that we had. We had it once at Hope Academy for lunch, and then we went to Miss Ruth's house for the other one. It's like, for the people that don't know what it is, it's like a stew almost / soupy consistency. It's made with a whole bunch of spices, and they hand ground everything. Miss Ruth did anyways. And it was probably one of the best things I've ever had. They put it with like rice and chicken. Oh my gosh. I told her as soon as we left, I was like, I will be coming back here, and if you could make that, I will help you make it. Like, I just need it. So that was my favorite.
Groovy. Elliot, what about you?
honestly, that's kind of a crazy take by Hannah because I feel like that ruined a lot of our stomachs after that. Uh, Even though it was really good, but yeah. I would say my favorite food, it might have been like this one Mexican restaurant we had. Uh, the tacos and the I had fajita tacos and they're really good. They rivaled like Papacitos. So
What about you, Peter?
Um, is my mic okay?
Oh, it's really loud. You're gonna have to speak up a little louder, Peter.
Is this better?
That's better.
There we go. Okay. Um, I think the thing that I remember the most is there being lots of starches, like lots of rice, lots of beans, of course, but then like plantains and lots of tortillas. Um, just as something I noticed, there wasn't a lot of like green things. That sounds bad when I say it like that, but they like there isn't a lot of like lettuce being eaten, stuff like that, just because it's not from there. And they're like what they used for vegetables and fruits was different. I thought that was interesting.
Looking at Johnny or Martina. There you go, Martina.
So I have a couple of things. Hannah and I really like Taco Bell, and I'm a little bit embarrassed to say that we did try the Taco Bell in Antigua, but the interior of the restaurant was incredible. It had like an open air patio, and the vibe was so nice. And the Taco Bell was superior to ours. So it was really good. So we did do that. But I will say the breakfast that we got at our hotel every day was amazing. It was a family owned and run hotel it used to be a home. And so we got a homemade breakfast every morning and it was just delicious. And we had tons of black beans as far as the beans go. So the restaurants were incredible. They rivaled big cities in America in terms of the decor and the food variety. And I was incredibly surprised at the variety of foods that were available.
There, you guys went to Sobre Mesa, right?
Yes.
So Sobre Mesa is I don't know. The owner of it says it's what how Italians would cook if they had Guatemalan ingredients. And he's a nut. He is something else.
No, Hannah, he writes like romance novels when he delves into the restaurant. Get involved with them.
Yeah. And he paints the paintings on the wall in the restaurant. And yeah, anyway, sobremesa is a term that is refers to like once the meal's over, you're just sitting around talking. That's sobremesa. Nice. And so, but I was telling a group that I had there in May, it's not just my favorite restaurant in Guatemala, but my favorite restaurant in the world. It's so good. But it's like it's the same thing. There's a lot of fusion where they take Guatemalan ingredients, mix it with other cuisines, and make something incredibly tasty that you can't get anywhere else.
And how many ice cream flavors did they have there?
Over 100 different.
Yeah.
Ice cream. Daniel like their ice cream.
Their ice cream is very good.
If I remember correctly, it was like 100 flavors, and 30 of them were only flavors that were made in that house, in that restaurant.
He's like that guy.
And they're not the traditional flavors like vanilla and chocolate. It's like.
And at the end of the meal, he comes to your table and he reads them all out. And then they're like, please stop, I don't even remember what it said, but it's fine. Figures it out.
Yeah. Any last question or any last response to your favorite food in Guatemala?
And to Martinez.
Wait, Ben.
Go, Elena.
Elena, go for it.
Wait, I'm so sorry. I didn't know someone was talking.
No, you go for
Okay,
it, Elena.
but okay, I'm sorry, it keeps freezing up. So my favorite would probably be when we were at Miss Ruth's house. I would have to agree with y'all. The soup was so good. I miss it so much. Especially with the tortillas too. It was paired really good and the chicken. And then also adding to Mama's Taco Bell thing, we also went to McDonald's in Antigua and I will say it was definitely so much like better, like with the atmosphere. They had like a whole separate bakery in there, first of all. Um, and then just like the options on their menu, it was so much more than the US had. Like, oh, I would go back 100%.
And pretty much in Antigua, everything's like that. You go inside and there's vegetation growing, it's open air. There's outside courtyard type seating, and only a third of the places, if not half the places. The Starbucks there is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen.
The Starbucks there is like, if it was in Houston, like it would be the most popular coffee shop in the city. And it's just the average Starbucks there.
But so it's the weather there is pretty temporary year round. So the only thing you're trying to protect from is the kind of rainy season. So just as long as you're covered, you're good to go.
What's the elevation there?
In Antigua, 7,000 feet, maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, Antigua was 7,000. When we climbed up the volcano, I think they told us 11,000. That's so weird. Well, right. So now you have like an appreciation for your poor deacon hiking up these young people. Or Mandy says no sympathy.
Big backpack too.
So I don't mean to rag Grace out, but how did you get them up?
I took a horse, but I took a horse from the beginning. I could never under any hallucinations.
In fact, if we want to applaud anybody, it was Elliot and Peter and Nathaniel that were the ones that actually hiked the volcano.
And Johnny who negotiated all of
And Johnny, who in Spanish negotiated all the horses. And must have been a fascinating sight for other people to watch. About like 11 of us from Texas trying to negotiate.
We were all excited for like Johnny working negotiation.
So Johnny's the one that told the lady, follow this dude up. He's gonna want one.
Yeah, go for it, Joseph. Speed loud. How much did the horses cost?
Oh.
Johnny, how much did the horses cost? You can't hear.
Oh, I don't know. Wait.
Are you there? I can't remember the cost. I just know there was a little bit of a mix-up on the itinerary, and so, gosh, does anybody else, Martina? Do you remember what we actually paid to go?
I think
Elliot was there helping out with hearing over everything.
I think it was like it was kind of expensive. It was like $80 or something, right?
Yeah, something like that.
It was way too much.
It was, and that we didn't know that ahead of time. It was a little bit different, and so we had to pull all our everybody pitched in, and we pulled our resources together and made it work. So it worked out good.
Alone, like Daniel and Peter. Because we didn't bring enough cash. Because we always did ATMs and before I got out exactly 200.
Well, it's again a good example of the first century church pooling their resources together and supporting each other. And ensure that we weren't initially prepared for it, but we came together. I mean, they were able to be able to come and enjoy the beauty of creation at the volcano. So yeah.
And when you're in Antigua, you're not really using cash. You can phone pay, you can use credit cards, all that.
Everyone takes, even the street vendors have to square.
Yeah.
Everyone takes.
Do y'all have any other questions? And then we'll move into some of my questions. Yes.
How was the mosquitoes?
How was the what?
Mosquitoes.
The mosquitoes. Who would like to take that question? How are the mosquitoes? They're all not even want to talk. They're all saying no. Yeah. So it's considered the winter down there, even though we're on the same northern hemisphere, but it was a lot cooler than it was in Houston. So in the evenings, it was, if I remember correctly, 60s, mid-60s, maybe even the low 63. So yeah, they weren't so bad on the mosquitoes.
It's more higher elevated too. It's like imagine you're in Denver, right? And Denver is like the mall or something. Like it wasn't. I don't recall getting hit by any of those, but I could be wrong. It didn't have to get hit by something. If it happened.
All right, Joseph, you got a question?
How did you effectively get with them? Do you have translators or people there speaking English with us.
So the question is how do we communicate with the local community there? And I was ready to say, well, we had WhatsApp, so that's how we communicate together. But no, in there in Antigua, you want to speak more on that, Grace? Is that you're being all the time?
Well, it's a mix. So a lot of people do have at least like conversational English. So like if you go to a restaurant, most of the time you can order in English. And at the school, like pretty much all of the teachers, so at least conversational English, if not the English teachers obviously spoke with English. But and then the students, all the students at Home Academy are learning English in their studies. So based on what grade they're in, they can usually say hello, how are you? What's your favorite color? You know what I mean? Like most of the time, like that sort of stuff is pretty easy to get across. But also, most of us, at least, we have a couple of people who were fluent in Spanish who were with us. Elliot and Johnny particularly were very helpful. But for the most part, like I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I took Spanish in school for years, so I'm definitely not fluent or anything. But I can do my days of the week and I can count and you know what I mean? So that sort of stuff, like it's easy enough to, especially when you're speaking with someone who's in elementary school, to have a basic conversation with them, like we can figure it out.
And Grace undersold Elliot. The Spanish is incredible for someone to say
Elliot
who isn't a native speaker. Yeah.
Elliot is very good. All of our tour guides were very impressed by him.
One of the things I noticed about the language is that unlike in Europe, where as soon as they know you speak English, they speak English to you, they were very tolerant of me trying to put Spanish together, and their patience with listening to me in Spanish was much appreciated.
And Antigua is one of the main centers where foreigners go to learn Spanish. So the whole town has adopted this mentality of we're the place people come to learn Spanish. That's how we keep them coming. So the customer service, they're very patient like that.
Jalen, did you have a question or are you just pointing to the screen? That's cool. Just wanted to make sure.
I have a question.
All right.
You guys, a couple of people mentioned dinner at Ruth's house, at Miss Ruth's house. Did she tell you guys more of her story and what she does and what her life has been like or anything like that while you were there? Because Ruth was in a few of Jennifer's sermons, Pastor Jennifer's sermons along the way. So it's kind of she's kind of quasi famous.
We didn't speak much. She gave like a bit of like a toast, I guess, at dinner, but she didn't talk much at all.
You guys got her shop?
No, we only went to her house.
Okay,
so she had like a mini shop at her house. And we like shopped around in there, stories before dinner, like her and her family were like kind of storing their stuff, and then they set out some stuff to display for us. So most of the time she was busy cooking, and she had us like help her making tortillas and stuff. So yeah, she gave us toast and she talked a little bit about how she met Jennifer and stuff, but we didn't go much in depth about it, to be honest. Unless stuff.
And they make woven and some stuff that's really high quality. Out of shop like a block or so off of this main square.
Yeah, I will say that her shop was just right down the corner, around the corner from where we were staying. And some of us went in there. And that night when she hosted dinner, I believe me and Peter, I think Elliot too, we all bought some, everybody bought some items from all the things that she has there, some shirts and jewelry and such. Very talented, very good stuff that she made. But yeah, her shop is very convenient, just off of the main square, I guess, in town.
One of the things that I purchased out of her shop that I love are some crushes. They're very tiny and they're so unique. They're painted and just really meaningful. She knew us immediately when we went into her shop after we'd had dinner at her house. She remembered our names. She was just so personable and so welcoming. It was really fun.
You never cut those things. And her sister, the two of them are, they're amazingly brilliant. Talk about it.
So I'm going to pose this question for us, and I want to hear our participants' responses, which might be a challenge for you, or it might be simple for you. What was your favorite part of the trip that you went to Guatemala? What was your favorite part of the trip? And I'm going to pop for Peter, because I hadn't heard from Peter in a while. So no pressure, Peter.
Yeah, okay. I think for me, my favorite part was being in Antigua and getting to like be in the city. It was a great, I think the place that we were staying was really great for the trip as like a good connection point, because we could have stayed at another place that was like further out of town, but being surrounded at all times, even at night, like Elliot and I were living together, and if we had our door open, we would have heard half the things that happened in the town, right? I mean, it's really cool being surrounded by the environment at all times. And I mean, a trip like Germany is kind of the same thing where you're constantly in the experience. And that was really great, being able to like be there at all times. And of course, going to the things that we were doing and going to the school was really cool. But to me, it was I think that my favorite part was that we didn't like leave the school and also leave the experience. It was like sure we were leaving the school, but we were going to Antigua and we were going into the city.
Yes. And Peter, I'm giving you the invitation to popcorn the next person.
Ooh. I'll do Hannah.
Hannah.
Okay. Well, at the risk of sounding like cliche, I'm gonna go ahead and say that my favorite part was the entire experience as a whole. Before going, I didn't really have very many expectations, honestly. I think I looked up Antigua on like TikTok like 2 times and I was like, okay, I'm ready. And it was not what I was expecting at all, needless to say. I was very pleasantly surprised, like coming to just a whole new country with no expectations, just completely open to everything. And I've never been so homesick for a place that I've only visited for such a short period of time. I was really kind of emotional to be back in the States when we got back, just because of like how much it resonated with me, I think. So, yeah, the whole overall experience, I'd say. That was my favorite part.
And then invite the next person, Hannah.
Johnny.
It's weird to hear you say your dad's name.
John Boy.
It's kind of weird. I would have to say my favorite part was interacting with our drivers, and Elliot can probably attest to this. Don Julio was our driver, and I think was it Kevin who was driving the other van. But a lot of just interacting and working on my Spanish, because it helped me a lot to put me in that place to where I could speak it more. And then also when we got to to Hope Academy, some of the workers down there, interacting and speaking with them, just explaining to me the whole area, their avocado orchards and what they do and how they generate some of their revenue and some of the security measures they have to take in place, that they have to put in place in order to protect all those things. It's just interesting interacting with some of, not just the kids was great, but I think our kids did more of the interacting with those kids. On For me, it was interacting some with the adults and just speaking with them and learning about what they go through, what they do on a daily basis.
And then invite the next person, John.
So, okay, Elena.
Okay, so I have a few favorite parts from the experience there, but I would say my main one would be getting to connect with the kids that from the school and the orphanage, seeing how they live and their ways of life, and like not really like, even though the language barrier is there, you're still able to communicate with them, like just through the good vibes, I guess I would say. Like I don't know how to explain it, but I would just getting to be there, like it literally healed my heart. It made me so happy. Like I had never felt so close to people I had just met that day or like in a week or whatever. But it was just adorable. I loved it.
And then Elena, you're invited the next person.
Who hasn't gone yet?
We got Elliot, Martina, Grace.
Mommy, you can go, or Martina.
All right. So I have several favorites. One of the things we haven't talked about is that we went to the village of Aguacate, which was up from the orphanage, and it's a community that is in extreme poverty. I don't think that our youth had seen anything like that in real life. And as we walked through and looked at the types of um, dwellings that people were living in, and there's no trash service, there's very little sewer service, and we saw the home of one of the girls that was working at Chica Bean, and the opportunity that she had to lift herself up out of that poverty. I think watching the youth see that was really moving to me. I don't think I had ever seen anything like that in my life, and I know our youth probably hadn't either. And it was really touching and really grounding to see the conditions that that they were living in. Um, so that was really meaningful to me. Climbing the volcano obviously was amazing. That's an experience I'd never had before. And then, as always, you know, Johnny and I love chaperoning these trips, but just seeing our amazing youth and the way that they carry themselves and the way that they learn and the way that they share and encourage each other is just incredible. So those are my best takeaways. And I'm grateful for the opportunity always to share this with our youth. So, all right, Elliot, you're up.
Uh, I'd say my favorite part was also kind of like Johnny's, just like forming a relationship with our drivers. So like Don Julio was their driver, and he was like Kevin's his dad or his son. So like he was kind of the younger guy. But it was fun just like talking with him. Like first day it started like I kind of had to warm up my Spanish. So like after day two, I was ready and I was firing on all cylinders. But then like it was just really cool. He gave me his WhatsApp, and like we've kind of been still like every once in a while I'll, like say, hey, what's up? Like how are you doing? And like it's just kind of been fun to keep that up. And I'm ready to go back and like hike a volcano, hopefully with him, and bring some of the youth group back.
And Grace, have you gotten a chance to share?
No. I would say my favorite part of the trip was, I would say I have two. I would say it was really fun to see how much all the kids were enjoying it, because it was my second time there, but all of them was their first, and it was so fun to see how much like they were loving it and how like just how meaningful and beautiful it was to them, and that was really sweet. And I also say I really enjoy getting to play with the kids, especially at the orphanage. We're not like off in the office painting, but except for like a small part when they're playing soccer, and I can't keep up with the soccer down there. So I was off to the side petting the dog, but at the public academy, I had a lot of fun. Like they would come out during recess and they could see us working on the cornhole, and they'd be like, "Come on, come on." So we'd go over there and play with them, and they wanted. I learned a lot of Spanish words I never did. Tag, teaching me how to say tag in Spanish. So they run up to me and hit me and be like, they're kindergartners. So they come up and they like be like, okay, I'm like, I don't know what that means. And they run away from me, and I'm like, oh, I guess we're playing tag. And then they're teaching me hide and seek. Like they're like how to say that. I didn't know how to play. And it was just really fun to hang out with them. Like they were just, wanted to play with us so bad, wanted to spend time with us. Really, we're were very exciting to them. It was very, I liked being exciting to them. So it was a good time.
Yeah, and I would say, going off of what you're saying, Grace, is that, on trips like this where English is not the first language of the community, my favorite part was learning about the things that were cross-cultural. Like play was cross-cultural. Like, we might not know the language, but we definitely know what tag is, and we can play tag. We know what hospitality is. We might not be able to speak the same language, but we can actually be hospitable and caring and nurturing to each other. So finding those like central things that connect us, that language is that thing, was a beautiful thing to experience with all of our people. And then at the same time, for Elliot, like when he was speaking Spanish, it was really building a connection with Kevin every day, talking to him, because it was about 40 to 45 minutes going to the school and back, depending on the traffic. I mean, Elliot sat and talked with Kevin and really got to know his story. You actually got a Guatemala team football jersey, right? You're an official Guatemala football sport. And so it was really beautiful to see how relationships and accompany people were happening on this trip. So that's the favorite parts. How was your faith maybe challenged? How were you challenged on this trip? And so this time, since Grace was the last to share, you'll be the first, and then you can block on first.
A lot harder when they go first on. I could say it was difficult to see what was hard for me is like you go there and you meet so many awesome, amazing, friendly, kind people, and you're like, gosh, like you kind of just feel like a little bad that you go and you visit their homes or their school, whatever, like Hope Academy is doing incredible things, but like they don't have like a smart board in every classroom. Not every kid gets a laptop. Like that's how my school was. Not an elementary school, but like that's what my education system is here. Hope Academy is like one of the like top tier private schools in the country. You know what I mean? So you look at that, you're like, gosh, but like it's just hard because it's like these people, they deserve top of the line education, top of the line. You know what I mean? And it's a little difficult to be like, gosh, it just feels very unfair, I'd say. And it's kind of hard to reckon with that because you're like, I have so much, and people, I mean, they don't have as much, and they're awesome. Like,
Thank you for sharing. And then Michael.
I'll invite Martina.
So I think maybe, let's see, my faith being challenged. I think one of the projects that we did at the orphanage was painting a building, and we got most of it done, but there was a little bit that we didn't finish, and we learned that there was another group coming in the following week to continue the work, and it felt like that was kind of hopeful because you knew that while you were only there for a week, you can only do so much in service, but you knew another group was coming right behind you. And I don't know that it challenged my faith, but it gave me a lot of faith that a lot of people do this kind of work, and whatever we didn't finish was going to get done. So I think that was something that maybe gave me some faith.
And then invite the next person.
Yeah, sorry. How about Peter?
Okay. I think for me, something that was challenging my faith was there was a lot of feeling of like, especially when we went and visited the village and went into the town. I forget the name of the town, that was particularly, I mean, there's fairly few words to describe it other than derelict. It was really rundown community. There was moments, and we talked about it the night after, where we kind of felt like, what are we doing here? Where are we helping enough, or what could we actually do to help this situation? And there was moments where we kind of thought to ourselves, like, telling ourselves that we're actually helping when we just show up and help these people who are already being helped. It was kind of a challenge of this kind of, I don't know if this is an accurate use of the term savior complex, but it felt kind of like that at times, where we were like confused as to whether what we were helping, and whether it was a good thing to do something where we know help was already being given. So that was some difficult conversations that we had to have, but I think in the end we all gained a lot out of that, and being able to figure out exactly where we could help in a situation where it felt like there wasn't enough being done was a really valuable conversation for me, at least.
And then invite the next person here.
We're
We're
gonna
get
yeah.
make sure.
I'll shoot to Elliot.
Something that challenged my faith also is like whenever we went to the orphanage, um, I think we only spent one day there, right? Um, yeah. Well,
We had 2 days, but I think so the time in the afternoon was when you got to see the kids. We were there in the morning because they were at school, either at the Hope Academy or the local school, because in Guatemala, usually the boys get to go to school and the girls don't. So that's why Hope Academy was established for girls. Big ball in each.
right. So I just felt like we didn't like with the school Hope Academy, we're there for longer and like we're able to form, I feel like, more of a relationship with them. Whereas at the orphanage, you kind of tell that like they see people come in all the time. And I feel like the kids were more like standoffish. And they're kind of just like, oh, these guys are just like be in and be out, which is kind of like how we were. Um, so I wish we were able to like spend a little bit more time with them and actually get to know more of the kids and like form a better relationship like we did at Hope Academy.
Yeah, I invite you to go.
All right. Where my faith was challenged. So, for our favorite parts of the trip, a lot of us mentioned the connections that we made and, friends. And it's kind of a double-edged sword because you're like, it's time to go home after all of this. And you're like, well, now what? It's just kind of like a sad, lingering feeling that I had. And not even with like the girls or the orphans or like Miss Ruth, like not even people in Guatemala, but like different people that we had in our trip, like Anna and her dad. Like they're in Pennsylvania, when's the next time I'm gonna see them? David and Jennifer and Maeve, they're also in Pennsylvania. So like it was a wonderful experience and made so many great connections, but kind of sitting with the fact that like I mean it's not like you can just send them a text or anything. It's a third world country, and so I just had to kind of be okay with the fact that you were there for X amount of time, you made these great connections, you made a difference for a little while, and life goes on. But it makes me kind of sad, leaving all of the good connections that I made. So that's where I was challenged in my faith. And I would like to invite Johnny to share.
Okay, so a couple of things I would say. The first one was was that dang customs app that we had to use trying to get into Guatemala. Sorry, that challenged me a lot, and I had to keep a lot of things mental inside. So instead of being verbal, the second thing, I think Peter said it best. You're there and you realize that you're just a small piece of a larger puzzle that's taking place over there, especially in a country in an area like that, those communities. And so faith in humanity, right? It's because you know that there are people that are actually there trying to help those kids and those communities. And my goodness, God bless them. They deal with a lot there, and so knowing that aside from us and our mission trips that we do and what we were doing, knowing that there are people that really care that are trying to give those kids a foundation so that they can be um, successful in some way in that area in their country. So that's what I got. That was my biggest challenge they're facing, having faith in humanity. Who hasn't gone yet?
Elena.
Me, I'd like to go now.
Yes.
Go.
Okay, so piggybacking off of what Hannah said about where her faith was challenged, I completely agree because on the last night that we were all there, me and Anna were in the hotel talking just about that exact thing. And I had mentioned to her, I was like, dude, after this night, we're literally gonna never talk to each other again. And I was right. We kept talking maybe once a day for about a week or two and then just completely stopped talking. And we still have each other like added in our contacts, but we just don't talk and it's sad having to see you just let that go with such a fun connection. So, yeah, that's where my faith was challenged.
Yeah, and so I may challenge our group because why does it have to end? Because as you said, Elena, like you have a contact information. What's not to send a quick text or to say, hey, it's been a while. How are you? Or if you need someone's address, you can write it. This is a lost technology for our young people, but it's called postcards. And we can mail those postcards to people, just letting them feel that they're loved and connected. And those people, and we have Anna and Rahush's information if y'all wanted to do that. But that's true. So it's a life lesson we learned that sometimes life continues, it goes on. And so how do we continue building relationships with the people that we built over the summer? And so for our group here, you might be challenged this month with an email from me saying, here's how you can reconnect with your friends. And with like Kevin down in Guatemala and everything.
I mean, yeah, can I speak to that from the beginning?
Oh, go for it.
So I don't know if everyone knows, but I'm on the board of Tree for Hope that operates the school and a few other activities going on as well. And so I wanted to speak to the folks that went on the trip specifically, but I think it'll resonate with everybody. Our intention with the groups, and by the way, we have 7 different groups going down there between May and August. So about every other week, there's a group down there on average doing work. But the work is valuable, absolutely valuable. The school looks so good because we're repainting every year, right? The things are in great shape. But what you're really, I would say what we are hoping to get from our visitors is your presence. And that's all we really need. Your presence in the lives of those people, even if it's for a short time, makes a difference, especially with the younger people there. They see that the world could be different. They see that there's people from other places who want to talk to them. Their worlds can get pretty small, especially the kids at the Hogar. Because if you're at Hogar, it's almost 100% chance that your family has not taken care of you the way they're supposed to. And so you are more standoffish in a sense because you don't know who's going to be good to you and who's not going to be good to you. And so they've learned in life just to be a little more guarded. And the ones who, and some of the kids, one of the rooms you guys painted, I think, also serves as a classroom for the kids who are too emotionally unstable to go to school yet. So that's like their special class on site that they get because they can't handle being in a school environment yet. They need more psychological healing and more time to process what they've been through in life. But just the fact that you go there and play soccer with them is huge. It's a connection to the world outside of themselves. It's one more person who treats them well. And so I think it's good that you go, period. Going is the thing. And being yourself and being open. Like you guys all talked about how open-minded you were about the trip, how you were ready for the experience and immerse yourself in the experience. That's what it's about. Because even if they're short relationships, those relationships sustain the hearts and minds of those kids. And you know it because if you ever go back, they remember who you are. They remember your name. Ruth, especially, the kids often remember who you are too. And it's just that sometimes all we have to offer is our presence, and we have to understand that's enough. God is in that presence. Jesus is in that presence with us.
So, any questions from our community that you've heard the responses of our young people, how they were challenged, their favorite parts, their favorite parts of the trip, their favorite meals? What questions might you want to have before we close our time? And I gotta admit, it's kind of weird to see Pastor Mandy listening and not having a question of our young people. So if you're just absorbing it in, Pastor Mandy, I hear you.
I ask you a question, it's not going to be about the trip, it's going to be about that. So how are you all doing?
How are you all doing?
Good answer.
I'll add one more thing about the school. I took on the 5th of May when I was students from University of Pennsylvania that were installed a solar array on the roof of the school, which is now saving us 75% on our electric bills, by the way, at the school. I had a teacher friend, or she was a principal, a teacher, educator, now she works as an education consultant. Come down, because I think there's some things she could help the staff with, school, if she would want to do some Zoom training and such, and so we're getting that actually happening. But about 30 minutes into being at school, she turned to me and said, "Lucky, I've never been in a school like this." I said, "Really? Let's keep going, and then we'll be talking about it later." And so by the end of the day, our comments was the girls own the school here. Like they are so comfortable. I've never seen girls so comfortable in school in my whole life. That's what was so different about it. Because it's kind of like the kids who are at church, you know how like they have to run the place when they're here, and they feel like they're in charge, even though, yeah, sometimes they really are. But you know what I mean? Like that's the same experience you have at that school. You've never seen it on that scale before. You've never seen it in a school like that before. They're just so themselves and so joyous and so happy. And they follow the rules. Like they don't create problems because it's their place. They don't want to make a mess about it. They don't want to. It's wild. We really have never seen like it. Made me kind of think maybe I should have sent my kids to all girls schools. You know, I don't know if they would have been the same here. It's there, but it's just it's a pretty different kind of place than what you've seen. Probably. I mean, I think everyone needs to go see it. Just to believe it exists. Yeah.
So our last question before we end our time together is during our time in Guatemala in our devotion time, we talked about like what bold humility means. So going with that theme of bold humility, what is something that might stick with you from this trip about bold humility and what you learned on the trip, or even how you might be bold in your humility out in the community after experiencing this Guatemala trip? So I'll let that marinate. And then when anybody's ready to go, they can start sharing.
Could we maybe get like a simplified version of that question? Like maybe one sentence?
What's one way that what's going to stick with you after this trip?
Can I go?
Go for it, Lynn.
Okay, I would say one thing that would stick with me after experiencing all of that would be like the different ways, like people really do live different in different ways. Like it's crazy because whenever you're here, with your luxury and everything you're used to, when you go over there, it's like, whoa, I didn't even think that this could even exist. But no, it's there. And so I feel like that'll just stick with me. Like I want to try to take things not for well, I don't know. How do I explain it? I'm so sorry. I'm trying to put words together and they're just not working. Just I don't want to take everything for granted now because like that's insane. But yeah, so
Any others? One thing you're gonna take from the trip.
I would agree. Oh, sorry, Hannah, were you about to speak? No.
No,
I
you
would
go.
agree. Yeah, I would agree with what Elena said. I mean, it's to appreciate what you have, right? And when you go to other countries, just to be open about it and understand that you may have to step out of your comfort zone. We're so used to having things at a certain comfort level here in the States that we often forget that when we go someplace else, such as the country Guatemala, that they may not have the same living conditions as we do here. And so it's easy to look down on that, or you could say, hey, this is how things are. This is it doesn't have to be about me. This is how they live. This is what they provide, and they are providing it in a way to be very welcoming to you, right? And so just those things to keep in mind. They may not have what we have, but what they do have, they appreciate and they want you to feel welcome and feel comfortable in that setting. So,
I think piggybacking off the welcoming is the kindness that we experienced, from the adults to the children. Um, Everyone was just very kind. And I think we could all learn a valuable lesson about our relationships with other people and, you know, just just be kind. It goes so far. And so I think that's one of my big takeaways.
If I can piggyback off of what was said, my wonderful family literally stole everything that I was going to say for my answer. So what they said, hashtag ditto. But I also learned, not really learned, because I always like to smile at people. But if you smile when you're just walking down the road, everyone smiles back. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. So smile at strangers more, I guess.
Peter, you got anything?
Sure. Um, I thought that was interesting. I thought something I learned was being personable is really valuable as a skill, and being able to open up other people to conversation just by being yourself. Uh, there were times where before the trip I was thinking like, oh, in the past I've done this, this, and this, and it's led me to not experience the trips fully. And so being very intentional and like being myself and being open to conversation um, definitely helped me experience the trip in the way that I wanted to intentionally. So that was something that I gained from the trip was like careful planning and being diligent with like who you want to be as a person really helps with other people's experiences as well as your own.
Say, I'm gonna group the laborious here. It's just like being everyone that you know so hospitable and so kind and so welcoming, and I would say that that's like a valuable skill to not get too caught up in like your own like busyness. Be like open to being welcoming people and like new connections. Just say they value.
Well, that wraps up our year for our Sunday morning Guatemala trip reflection. So thank you so much for those that are online. We're going to close with a word of prayer in just 1 second. Thank you for those that are in person with us to hear the stories of our young people as we continue doing these pilgrimages, doing these trips as a way to challenge us in our faith, but also importantly, get a global mindset of what the world is like so that we can be bold. And again, bold in our humility, bold in our kindness, bold in being disciples of Jesus Christ in the world, showing God's love in all its places. So, what's next? So this summer we're going to be taking our young people from 7 the 12th grade to Germany to connect. And then for our Guatemala trip participants, we're going to be challenging them to connect with Tree for Hope and hearing how those stories are going to go. So I'm looking at Lucky is going to make sure I'm doing that, right?
If you ask me to, yes.
Yes, there we go. So let's pray. Good and gracious God, we give you thanks for our time. We give you thanks for our participants. We give you thanks for our wonderful community in Guatemala, which we got to accompany for a week. We ask that you keep us bold in our humility to be an example to the world how we can love unconditionally as you love us through your Son, Jesus Christ. All this we offer in your Son's precious name we pray. And all of God's children said,
Amen.
All right, thank you everybody. Thank you to those online, for those in person. The snacks are from Guatemala, so well, except for the ones, the bowls, those are from HEB. But feel free to take any of the Guatemala snacks so you can get a little taste of Guatemala. So thank you all, my people.
Bye, everybody.
You're right. You want to look at Peter's, yeah.